What's going on, business nerds? Dan Plata, home service CFO, coming at you with a target budget video. I've got some older videos I did a couple of years ago, but continuously improving that target budget sheet. And so I wanted to make you guys a new video on how the new sheet works. One thing, a couple things. Budgeting is just a weird exercise because it's like half art, half science. You're kind of looking at what happened and trying to use that to project forward. And you're also looking at what you think is going to happen and trying to build a budget around that. And where those two things meet is a budget. So one of the downfalls, and this is the downfall of my previous target budget sheets, is all the budget sheets I ever see are like a year long. And yeah, that's cool for the next year, but I plan on being in business for longer than a year. So one thing I really wanted to do with this new target budget sheet is make it so it just keeps going and you can use it to keep building your next budget. So it's built for 3 years and you can literally just keep adding years to it. You can copy and paste sections and just keep carrying out years and tweak a couple formulas and keep using the same budget sheet forever. You can store all your financial data. So I think that's super cool because half the time, half that exercise of budgeting is using last year's data. And what a cool way to have it be that last year's data is just like writing the same budget sheet that you're using. So I'm going to walk through high level how to use this darn thing. There are, if you're in the home service space, there's target budget sheets for most of you guys. If you don't see one out there, go on our website, reach out to us, yourblueskies.com. If there's not one for your industry, and we get enough demand for it, I'll whip one up specific with targets to your industry. I might have some questions for you to be able to do that. But another thing I did is I created a blank one where you can go in and put your own targets in there if you want. So you're not handcuffed to the pressure washing one or the landscaping one. If you're in plumbing and I don't have one, you can go and build your own target budget sheet with my blank template. So best of both worlds. That said, there's one for each industry. You might have found this video by going to my website, downloading one of those, and then this video pops up to walk you through how to use it. That's cool. If you found this video just out on the interwebs, go out to our website to go get the target budget sheet that works for you. Again, if you're in the home service space, there's a good chance I already have one for your industry. But if I don't, grab that blank template and kind of follow along, build it out as you go. Website is yourblueskies.com. Y-O-U-R. Oh, I shouldn't spell this early in the morning. YOURBLUESKIES.com. And just cause, go check us out on the Bookkeeping Beer and BS Facebook group. Go check out the Bookkeeping Beer and BS YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff, and go get the podcast. We drop usually a couple episodes a week on a podcast of nerding out with other business owners, learning all about finance stuff and BSing, obviously. So go check that stuff out. Now, without further ado, I don't even know what that means, some French term or something. I'm going to share my screen and walk through how to use this darn target budget sheets. Check this out. That's not the screen. Where's the screen? Here's the screen. And I call it a target budget sheet because the targets are already built. In general, if it's an industry I'm super familiar with, I already know what the business model is. You might disagree with some of the percentages, which is why I make it super customizable. So that's fine if you disagree and want to tweak it here or there, or if it doesn't quite line up with your business model, or if you know what your rent expense is going to be versus a percentage of your revenue. But let's dive into this thing. So one thing to check out right away is you've got the number of business days, and I already have this built for the next 3 years. How many weekdays are in each month minus, a couple holidays here or there. You can see the holidays. I got them flagged red so you can see what's going on. If you go out to year 4, year 5, you can copy and paste like this whole section and then add another year. But you'll want to go through and adjust how many business days are in each month. Likewise, the number of payrolls is really important. This is built if you pay weekly. It's how many Thursdays are in the month, because that's usually when our payroll, we put the payroll in by Wednesday. Money goes out of our bank account on Thursday, get to our employees' bank accounts by Friday. So we've got number of payrolls in there. Adjust these if you pay bi-weekly or twice a month or whatever it is, because these will impact how the expenses flow through the budget sheet. Now, you can see there's a handful of tabs down here. I am not going to go through these 3 additional tabs. They're super useful tabs. I have specific videos on how to use those tabs because they are a little complicated. And if you use them, they do feed into this main budget sheet. So for instance, like sales and marketing, I'll just click on it. I'll just give you a taste. I'll just click on it. So sales and marketing, you can put your marketing inputs in. And if you drop those in, there's literally a little drop down here and you can say, use this. And then it'll pull that data, it'll pull this budgeted sales data over into here. You can see these numbers disappeared. Actually, they were feeding off of this, but now that I told it to use them, now they disappeared because I have $0 here. So if I take that use out of there, now my sales feedback from this like manually entered row. So and the marketing data actually feeds over too. So anyway, there's a whole lot of ways to like make this more complex. That's just a taste. At the get-go, I suggest not messing with that. Just put some sales in here and you can see what happens. I already started entering some just to show you what happens. It feeds this entire budget sheet based off of these targets. So let's just literally, I'm just going to go through here quick. Why don't I make this like a formula so that I don't have to sit here and type so much. Let's just say like plus 10,000. Who cares? We're just doing an example. All right. And I'm just going to feed numbers in for the whole year. Boom. We're going to do 1.14 million this year. Let's go. All right. So you can see we're budgeting for about 53% cost of goods sold. This was these are landscape lighting targets originally, but this is like the blank template. Actually, when I upload it, I'll probably take that out of there so you don't see that. But you'll see different months have different percentages. Well, that's because March is a 5 payroll month. So the percentage goes up because there's an extra payroll. And even though it's 53% on average, the 4 payroll months have a lower percentage. So that's by design. Let's try to budget for what we know is going to happen, which is a 5 payroll month is going to have more expenses. A four payroll month will have less. And it won't equal out perfectly because of the nuance of how many business days throughout the year, all that stuff. But it gets you pretty darn close to these targets. So in general, whichever industry target sheet you're grabbing, there's going to be percentages in here. But like I said, you might either say, you know, that's not exactly my business model, Dan, or I already know for certain what that number is going to be. So like maybe technician pay, you're like, yeah, 15%, but I'd like to pay a lot of bonuses, or I pay hourly and I've just been, you know, a little bit on the high side. So I'm closer to 18%. If you override with a percentage, it goes in the percent override column. And you can see what happened when I type that in, it automatically overrides all of these. Now, what's super cool, again, this is a 3-year and beyond budget sheet. We can go to the next year. And let's just keep, I got to put some sales targets in here. Let's say we just are crushing it going into the next year. And we're doing 200,000 a month. We'll just stop there for example's sake. So right now, this is feeding off of that 15%. But maybe next year I said, you know, I think I'm going to get it down to 17% next year. These numbers feed off of the 17%. So there's a new override for percentages and a new override for dollars every single year. Oh. Apparently I got to change one more formula because that one didn't change. So you get the gist. I'll clean it up before I upload it, but we'll carry on here. So it's got the percent override. I'm going to pull that back out and you'll see all those adjust here. Don't worry about year 2. Don't worry about that little guy. I'll clean that up. So that's one example of how to use this sheet is percentage override. Now, dollar override. Let's say workers' comp, you pay that monthly and you already know what it's going to be. Let's say it's going to be $1,100. You put in the dollar override and that will flow through and override this percentage. Even if you did say, you know, my workers' comp is like 2%. This sheet is like hierarchical. Okay, cool. So first it's going to say if there's a number here, override that percentage. And then it's going to say, but if there's a number here, then override that percentage. So you can kind of see it works left to right. So maybe you're like, I'm closer to 2%. And then you actually get like the quote from your workers' comp company. You're like, oh, it's $1,100 a month. You can just drop that in there. It's $1,100 a month. So you can see it flows all the way down here. And now we hit this actual section. And this actual section is just the same, chart of accounts that's built out into here. And pro tip, you could actually like copy and paste these into an Excel CSV file, all these little chart of account sections, and upload them right into your QuickBooks. So you can use this exact chart of accounts. Maybe if I'm feeling nice and I have some time, I'll even do that for you guys, and you'll just get this chart of accounts too. I think there is a chart of accounts I'll upload out there, just not specific by industry, and they do change just a little bit. So there's a spot to enter the actuals. And what's cool is when you enter the actuals, it's got variance calculations over here. So it'll say like, how did you do as a percent of revenue? How much did you spend on that category? And then it's going to compare it to what you budgeted for. And it's actually going to color it. When you do that, it's going to color it red, yellow, green. Like there's a range here. And so if you're outside of that range, it'll color it red. If you miss, but you're inside of that range, it'll color it yellow. And if you beat the target, it'll color it green. I'm not going to mess with that because that'll take us forever here. And I want to keep this video kind of short to buy me time to go fix that February issue on my spreadsheet. All right. So it gives us our gross profit margin, which is kind of in my mind, that's how much money you guys get to reinvest as a business owner. So you got cost of goods sold first. That's the money you pay to go out and do the thing. Once you're out of the field, that money's never yours. You're paying the labor, you're paying the supplies, you're paying the fuel. It's all the stuff to go get the job done. So once you do a job, that money's already gone. You don't get any of that, assuming you're not out in the field. The rest of this is investments that you make to keep growing the business. So you get your gross margin, your gross profit. You can take that, go reinvest it in, you could go invest it in a boat, I guess, but you could also reinvest it in your business. First place you usually reinvest it is more marketing to go get more clients. So we've got a few different buckets of expenses here. You can see that I've got dropped in. And same thing, you might say, hey, I'm going to be more aggressive. I'm going to do more like 8% marketing. And so it's just going to flow through as a percent of sales. And you might also say, hey, I already know how much I'm paying my Google Ads guy. It's, $500 a month, but then I got my SEO stuff. And so maybe it's $1,000 a month, and you'd override that and it just drops all in. So super cool. Now you got a spot to enter the actuals for marketing and so on. Your admin bucket. Your admin is all of the investments and people infrastructure that you make. Your sales team, your customer service team, you as an owner. So it's mostly wages. If you hire a nerdy bookkeeper like us at Blue Skies, we've got an allocation for that. Your tax person. Got a little bit for legal services and consulting. Again, you might be like, I'm not going to have any legal services. Oh, here's an interesting thing. It doesn't like 0%. Like it can't read that because the formula is like, if it's greater. So if you need to like zero something out, go like 0.00001%, and then it'll basically zero it out. Took me a little bit to realize that. I was like, man, it just won't take 0%. That's why. So if you need to zero something out as an override, go 0.00001, and then it'll zero it out. Cool. So everything in there is really administrative, even like the supplies that admin team uses, their phones, their computers, their printers, all that sort of stuff. Then you got the spot to enter the actuals. 2 more buckets here, and then we'll wrap this baby up. Fixed overhead. All of the infrastructure, I guess, non-people infrastructure, all that like locked in, fixed, usually proactive decisions you make. Insurance, rent, software, things where you're paying a bill month to month to month, and whether you do twice as much work or half as much work, you're still paying the bill, right? Even if your revenue goes up or down, you still pay the same internet bill. So that's all feeding in here. Same thing. In this case, you're probably going to use this dollar override column because you know what your rent is. You know your rent is $1,800 a month, and it's not a percentage. It's $1,800 a month. You generally know what your liability insurance is. Maybe that's $1,800 a month too. So you drop that in there. So some of these, you're already going to know what that bill is, and you can drop it in here. Spot to enter the actuals. And now the last bucket is your variable overhead. This one's super tricky. I've got amounts. Super tricky is not the right way to put it. It's very fluid. I've got percentages in here for each line item, but you're never going to hit them. you're going to be way below them one month and way above them the next month. And so it's a month-to-month budget, but what's way more important is that overall throughout the year, you're like close to 4% in this category of stuff. But we all know how repairs and maintenance works. You're going to have a $2,000 bill one month and $0 the next month and $1,500 the month after that. So I don't get too hung up in the month-to-month of it. I'm really looking at over the course of the year, how much do we plan on spending on repairs and maintenance? And we're going to do it, as we need it. It's variable because shit happens and then we got to spend money to fix it. So repairs and maintenance stuff, employee engagement stuff, right? We're not handcuffed to it, but it's an investment we're going to make and we just got to decide how much we're going to spend on it. So hence the variable nature of it. Now there's a spot to enter the actuals, and now we get to our operating profit margin. So right now we're showing a 15% profit margin, which would be pretty sweet. And obviously, if we're entering the data, we're going to have actuals down here. You can see there's a spot for cash-based operating profit and then accrual-based. It's all the same expenses, but just to elaborate on that for a sec, you'll see when you're entering the actuals here, there's a spot to put your cash accounting sales, which isn't like you accepting cash. That's like what's in your QuickBooks. That's how much money you deposited. Your accrual sales would generally be from your CRM, whichever CRM you got, the total amount you invoiced. Another pro tip, do not connect your CRM with your QuickBooks. It's a disaster. It double counts all your sales. It creates a bunch of work in QuickBooks that doesn't add any value. So CRMs, knock it off. Quit having people connect their QuickBooks to your crap. Anyway, rant over. Don't connect your CRM to QuickBooks. Oh, I guess the rant isn't over. I'm still ranting. Don't connect your CRM to QuickBooks. Just put it in here. Put in what's in your QuickBooks. How much did you deposit? What's in your CRM? How much did you invoice? It's nice to see them side by side. They're not going to be the same. When you get to the bottom, you can even see what your earnings are accrual-wise and cash-wise. Super cool. Now, accrual-wise, I think it gives you better data for operating purposes. Cash-wise is what you're going to pay taxes on. So it's useful to be able to see both. And now there's a couple more little sections here that are kind of interesting if you want to put them to use. So one would be for tax purposes, how much are you going to depreciate? And I just put an annual amount in here because depreciation is really just like at the end of the year. So how much is your CPA going to be able to write off for equipment that you bought, vehicles that you bought, that sort of thing? Maybe businesses that you bought that you need to amortize. So you can put a budgeted amount in here, and then you can put an actual amount. And so then it will calculate your actual net income for tax purposes after those things. And then one more section is this little cash flow section. So your P&L, your profit and loss, will show you your earnings, how much the business produced over a period of time. But that isn't the same as the money that's in your bank account, because there are cash flows coming in and out of your bank account that don't hit your profit and loss. Here they are. If you distribute money to yourself as an owner, that's like a dividend. It's not a business expense. It's paying the owners. It's a distribution. It goes on the balance sheet. Same thing with owner contributions. If you put money back into the business, that's not income. It's not a taxable event. It's just you making an investment in the business. The business is looking richer. The bank account's stronger. So those contributions go down here. If you borrow money, when you borrow that money, that's a loan. You've borrowed money, but it's not income. So borrowing money doesn't hit your profit and loss statement. And likewise, when you pay it back, the actual payment of the loan itself doesn't hit the P&L. The interest portion does. And there's a line in there for interest expense. And you can see this will actually pull in from this assets and liabilities tab. Go check out that video if you want to see how to deal with your loans and the principal and interest and all that cool stuff. So there's cash outflows for that. And then there's just like anytime you're borrowing money, you're buying assets. So there's ones that are on that tab from making down payments on vehicles and stuff like that. And then just any other non-asset related loans. I don't know if you get like an SBA loan or something like that. So there's a few different ways you could, finance a vehicle or just borrow money outright. So there's a budget place for that on assets and liabilities. And then obviously a spot to enter the actuals. And that budgeted cash flow will be different than your P&L. It'll be different than your tax stuff. So again, the beauty of this sheet is you can like pick and choose what you want to use. You don't have to use any of this shit at the bottom if you don't want to. It's just another tool, another resource for you. But I do think you should for sure put your sales targets in. Let this budget sheet fill itself out. I'll fix the year 2 little glitch before I upload it here. But just literally go through. Don't enter here. This is like the formula line. Enter up here in the blue line. It'll feed into the formula line. And then if you do want to mess with the sales and marketing tab to actually figure out how the hell am I going to do that amount in revenue, you can go do that and then hit use and it'll pull it over. I think that covers it, you guys. That is the rundown, the overview, the high level stuff of how to use this target budget sheet. Again, maybe you found this video because you already downloaded the target budget sheet and then this video pops up like, hey, here's how you use this sweet ass tool. If that's not how you found it and you just found this video scanning the YouTube universe, then go out to our website, yourblueskies.com, download the target budget sheet. If our industry isn't in there, grab this one. It's a 3-year, 1-division budget template. And I'm actually working on a 2-division budget template, which would have like 2 different cost of goods sold sections. That'll be out there at some point in time. If you're, running a multi-division, like multi-crew business where they're doing different things, it's just for you guys. All right, that's it. Again, Dan Plata, Home Service CFO from Blue Sky Services. Go get this target budget sheet. And for the love of God, if you need some bookkeeping help, it's probably not your CPA. It's probably not your mother-in-law. It's probably not your office manager. Go hire a real bookkeeper. This is like the sort of stuff that they can do for you to help you get your data right so you actually know how much money you're going to make and what you're spending it on. Again, you can find that at yourblueskies.com. Go sign up for a demo with me and we'll see if we can help you out. In the meantime, go work smarter and harder because working hard is awesome and you earn some pride that way. Pride is money. All right, be good. Go make some money. Peace.